Gaza hospital stormed. Hamas stands exposed, claims Israel. IDF finds Hamas weapons behind MRI unit. Ammunition and grenades recovered. IDF blows up Hamas parliament. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledges the end of Hamas. The deep, dark hospital secrets at Al-Shifa. That's our top focus on India First. Israeli Defense Forces are carrying out raids at the Al-Shifa hospital for the second straight day. There is no information in public domain so far whether the Hamas command and control structure has been located and dismantled, and whether the Israeli Defense Forces have been able to locate and destroy the maze of tunnels under this hospital. No word yet on Hamas military commanders, including Yahya Sinwar. But the forces are so far only in one part of the Al-Shifa hospital complex. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Much more on this huge development, but first as always, the headlines. Countdown to the big 2024 semi-finals on Friday. All 230 constituencies in Madhya Pradesh to vote in a single phase, while Chhattisgarh will vote for the remaining 70 seats in phase 2. Forty workers remain trapped in the Uttarkashi tunnel. Rescue operations are going through day 5. Second pipe to create an escape route now being drilled in. Delhi NCR continues to breathe poisonous air. Air quality levels hover in the hazardous category. The Aam Aadmi Party government forms a special task force to combat pollution. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar asks the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for proof to substantiate Canada's allegations against India over Niger's killing. Claims freedom of speech is misused in Canada. US and China to resume military contacts after frosty bilateral meet concludes. US President Joe Biden calls the Chinese President Xi Jinping a dictator just hours after the meeting. Big story coming in from Germany. At least 800 security forces personnel in Germany are carrying out a series of raids across 7 federal states on suspected radical Islamist organizations close to or linked to the Hezbollah. Now, these raids are being carried out in different states. Hezbollah, incidentally, is a banned entity in Germany. These are joint raids being carried out by the police and intelligence agencies across 54 locations and properties in 7 federal states to crack down on anti-Israel Islamism. According to reports emerging from Berlin, the German Interior Ministry is also learned to have initiated an investigation into the activities of the Islamic Center at Hamburg. The Islamic Center is one of the largest and the oldest Muslim centers in Germany. It's an old Islamic center in Germany. The police are probing links to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Hezbollah, both entities linked to Iran. Germany has also made it very clear there will be no anti-Israel, no anti-Semitic propaganda that will be permitted in Germany after the October 7 developments.
Our security authorities are investigating the Islamic Center Hamburg and several possible sub-organizations. We are investigating the suspicion that this organization is directed against our constitutional order. We are also investigating whether the Lebanese terrorist organization Hezbollah is being supported from here. Our measures show that we have the Islamist scene under observation. I want to make very clear that we are acting against Islamic extremism. We are not acting against a religion or another state.
Extremists.
Israeli forces say they found weapons and weapons of war, combat gear, technical equipment at the Al-Shifa hospital in the Gaza Strip. Israel continues search operations. The chief Israeli spokesperson, the military spokesperson, Admiral Daniel Hagari, has held a press briefing and he said that the military is releasing a video. Israel says they've showed some of the material that's been recovered from an undisclosed building in the hospital complex. They claim they found automatic weapons, grenades, ammunition, flak jackets. The Israeli army spokesperson walked through the basement of the hospital. Israel claims that in the Al-Shifa hospital, they found several AK series assault rifles. They found anti-personnel mines, anti-tank mines, RPGs, ammunition and flak jackets. We'll get you much more in this report. Now, there is no independent confirmation of all the weapons of war that have been found, but Israel claims that this was working as the command and control structure of the Hamas. No hostage has been found just as yet. Multiple images you see on your television screen. The Israel-Hamas war continues to escalate. Israeli forces raided the Al-Shifa hospital. They've discovered some AK-47, AK series assault rifles, some machines and some other equipment that was kept behind the MRI machine. IDF also found medical equipment and claimed there was no shortage of medicines for patients. We bring you more in this report.
After days of deadly Israeli assault, Hamas's deep dark secrets are out in the open. The Al-Shifa hospital under Israeli attack has revealed what Tel Aviv has all along been claiming. Stashes of deadly weapons, ammunition kept hidden along MRI machines, medical rooms and closets of Al-Shifa hospital. Israeli troops who raided the hospital discovered the weapons at most unlikely of places, like the MRI rooms.
We're now, as you can see, in an MRI room. I don't know when this was used the last time. But it is definitely an MRI machine. And if you follow me behind the MRI machine, I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant. And if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. There is an AK-47, there are cartridges, ammo, there are grenades in here, of course uniform, and all of this was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine.
Stashes of weapons were also found hidden in multiple closets of Al-Shifa hospital. They include AK-47 assault weapons, live grenades, bullets, fighting vests.
The contents of the bag are full military kit for one Hamas terrorist. A live grenade, ammunition, fighting vest with insignia, boots and of course uniforms, and last but not least, standard AK-47. Inside the hospital, hidden in a secluded area.
The security cameras were also found covered so as not to leave evidence of Hamas weapons stockpile in hospital.
That Hamas systematically uses hospitals in their military operations in violation of international law, and what we have found, I think, is only the tip of the iceberg. Let me show you a few examples. Security cameras have been obstructed. All of the security cameras are covered, and this isn't the only one. You'll see the rest of them here.
IDF also found fresh medical equipment and claimed there is no shortage for patients.
So we're still in the MRI center. The backpack was found in here. and it was also hidden behind the MRI machine. As you can see, the rest of the equipment here is proper hospital equipment, right? Bandages and medical gear. It seems as if there's no real shortage because there's a lot of equipment here.
While Israel vowed end of Hamas, Palestinian Authority called attack on Al-Shifa war on the defenseless.
It's extremely critical situation when the Israeli army have raided Al-Shifa hospital. If we can call this war on Gaza, one can call it the war on hospitals.
Do you remember when we were told that we would not break into Gaza? We've broken through. There is no place in Gaza that we will not reach. There is no hiding, no shelter, no refuge for the murderers of Hamas. Israel also intensified its attack on Gaza, targeting the house of exiled Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. A day after seizing Hamas parliament, Israel army blew it up using artillery fire. US President Joe Biden backed Israel's war, saying Hamas is planning a fresh attack. He, however, cautioned against occupation of Gaza.
I can tell you I don't think it ultimately ends until there's a two-state solution. I made it clear to the Israelis I think it's a big mistake for them to think they're going to occupy Gaza and maintain Gaza. I don't think that works.
With Israel finding proof of Hamas using Al-Shifa patients as human shields, will it get further emboldened to prolong the long, messy war on Gaza? Bureau Report, India Today.
Israel, of course, says it will help evacuate babies who are in incubators in the Al-Shifa hospital. Its defense forces allege that under the hospital, there's a network of bunkers and tunnels where Hamas was operating from and using it as an op base. Israeli Defense Forces claim, of course, India Today cannot independently verify any of these images. They've been released by the Israeli Defense Forces. They claim Hamas had its operations center and was using civilians as a shield. We bring you more in this report. Israel, of course, says it will help evacuate babies who are in incubators in the Al-Shifa hospital. Its defense forces allege that under the hospital, there's a network of bunkers and tunnels where Hamas was operating from and using it as an op base. Israeli Defense Forces claim, of course, India Today cannot independently verify any of these images. They've been released by the Israeli Defense Forces. They claim Hamas had its operations center and was using civilians as a shield. We bring you more in this report.
The Hamas tunnels, an underground network used to hide and smuggle rockets and ammunition, also used as Hamas command and control centers.
According to the intelligence we have in our hands,
now the Israeli army claims that one of the Gaza's main hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, is hiding a variety of command posts and entry points into the extensive tunnel network under Gaza. Israel says that the hospital's internal department, chest and dialysis department, the morgue and the area next to the maternity department are all housing Hamas underground complex.
the material that we have in our hands is only an illustration.
And that the convenience store area is being used as a Hamas command and control center.
The red buildings, as I mentioned, are buildings that Hamas is using, meaning he does his command and control in different departments of the hospital, like the Rengen room and others. He uses these places in order to do command and control for terror activities, launching rockets, etc., etc. It is here in Shifa Hospital where Hamas operates some of its command and control cells. This is where the direct rocket attacks command Hamas forces. Hamas terrorists operate inside and under Shifa Hospital and other hospitals in Gaza with network of terror tunnels.
The IDF has also released this audio to corroborate its claims.
هلا عندهم كل مخطط الانفاق تحت الارض ولما بقصفوا جامع ولا بقصفوا مستشفى ولا بقصفوا مسجد ولا مدرسة
كله عارفين
تحتها مراكز قيادة. وين مراكز القيادة تبعت الكتائب القسام؟ المركز الرئيسي وين؟
بعرفش.
تحت مجمع الشفاء.
يا لطيف عن جد تحكي؟
مقر القيادة الرئيسي تحت مجمع الشفاء. مدامات وغرف وقيادة وكل شيء تحت مجمع الرئيسي.
The Israeli military has regularly accessed Hamas of basing leadership and operational centers in residential areas or around schools or hospitals.
شو قلت لك شو المنطقة الشفا أمينة تنقصفش يعني آمن لهم حسب علمنا يعني حسب علم.
Hamas uses Shifa hospital as a shield for Hamas terror infrastructure. Hamas wages war from hospitals. By operating from these hospitals, Hamas not only endangers the lives of Israelis, civilians, but also exploit innocent Gazan civilians as human shield. Shifa is not the only hospital, it is one of many. Hamas' use of hospitals is systematic. Hamas terrorists operate inside hospitals precisely because they know the IDF distinguishes between terrorists and civilians.
Israeli forces have massed outside Gaza and conducted raids into the enclave in preparation for an expected ground offensive in retaliation for the deadly Hamas attack on Israel that killed some 1,400 people. Bureau Report, India Today.
And for the latest, I quickly want to cut across to Israel. Joining me now on the broadcast is India Today's man on the ground, Rajesh Pawar. Also with me is Sharon Haskell, a young member of parliament in the Knesset, in the Parliament of Israel. But Rajesh, let me quickly come to you first. Israel had said that there's a command and control structure under the Al-Shifa hospital. What has the Israeli Defense Forces, what have they been able to find to strengthen their point?
Look, Gaurav, this is a very well-known fact. Even US has admitted to this fact that there was a command and control structure under Al-Shifa hospital, and everybody knows it's an open secret. There's a huge network of tunnels, underground tunnels, which exist in Gaza. And now the challenge before the IDF is how to tackle that underground network, because that's where actual casualties will happen. That is a place where actual fight will take place. And there's also a fear that a lot of these people will use this tunnel. Hamas terrorists will use these tunnels to infiltrate into South, which now has double the density of population it had before 7th October. Because the people who were evacuated from the north of Gaza have moved south. Now, how will Israel deal with this population? How will they move them back to north and conduct operations in the south? These are big challenges now being faced by IDF, and it seems they do not have any clear answers. Gaurav.
Okay. Stay with me for a moment. Sharon Haskell, all through the past 40 days, we were given to believe that there were Hamas terrorists, including perhaps, either Ismail Haniyeh or others who would be there, Yahya Sinwar, who could be hiding in these tunnels. Ismail Haniyeh, of course, had fled to Qatar. Then came that information. Then they said Yahya Sinwar was hiding and controlling this war from this hospital, that hostages could be there. Was anything found, ma'am, or was nothing found?
So, first of all, this is a very well-known fact that Hamas is using Shifa hospital as its headquarters. There are bunkers, there are ammunition. Just yesterday, we have published through the IDF footages for example, the MRI section. And in the MRI section, you can see the cupboard are full of ammunition, full of bags behind the MRI. You can see them, how they are hiding grenades, a bomb vest, and many more equipment to fight against Israel. So, I mean, you know, it is a very well-known fact. Foreign press has entered today with the IDF also to the Shifa hospital. The Shifa hospital is a huge compound, and so it's going to take time until we unveil the entire structure that is underneath it. But it's very, very well known. I mean, these are facts. And so we were led with no other choice but to go in there in order to capture Hamas and push them out.
Okay, but any information about hostages, any evidence that hostages were kept here? Like the forces said, they were at the Al-Rantisi hospital before that. But anything about the hostages yet, ma'am?
So we can't unveil and we can't talk too much about what is happening with it. I'm sure that within the next few days we'll have some more information about it. Whether the hostages were kept there before, Hamas very much known, especially because we gave a prior warning to know when to evacuate those areas as well. So a lot of the time it makes our job a lot more difficult in capturing Hamas. But you know, the Israeli army doesn't want to harm any innocent civilians. And so our work is far harder than the usual, but we are committed for that. And we understand that Hamas might escape when we give up notice and we give a warning, but this is a chance we're willing to take because we know and we understand that at the end of it, we will find every single one of them and we will completely eliminate the entire infrastructures of Hamas.
You know, while you do that, how would you respond to these allegations that this is a war on the defenseless? This is a war where, you know, maybe pregnant women or little children and toddlers are the worst sufferers, as was said by some Palestinian authorities today, that this is a war on those who cannot defend themselves.
I mean, are you serious? This is a war that was opened on defenseless people. Babies were murdered in their cribs. Mothers were raped in front of their entire families, including children who were raped. How defenseless were the Israelis when Hamas entered and attacked and butchered innocent civilians? That is a defenseless attack on innocent population. Babies who were shot in their bed. What did a baby ever did to the Palestinians? What did a baby ever did to Hamas? That they go and they shoot him at point blank, shooting grenades, shooting anti-tank missiles, RPGs. That was people who were defenseless. And we are now protecting our citizens. I mean, look on the leadership of Hamas. They have said that if they can, they will commit the same crimes against humanity again and again and again. So what are we meant to do? Are we meant to sit at home and just wait for them? Never. We will never be butchered like that again. When we say at Memorial Day, never again, that's what we mean. Okay. And I understand that sometimes the world like their Jews dead. But we refuse to die. We will continue to defend our families and our children. We didn't want this war.
Yes.
We have no beef with the Palestinians, with the Gazan citizens, and all the patients in the hospitals. But then they need to rise up and say, kick them out of the hospital. Say that they will not take that again. Hamas is using them as a human shield. It's literally carry those babies and those children around them and locate their missiles and their ammunition in schools, in hospitals, in scout agent facility. So what are we meant to do?
Absolutely. So Sharon Haskell, a young member of parliament in Israel, says, are we just meant to lie back and die or wait for Hamas to kill us? US President Joe Biden and the Chinese President Xi Jinping had an icebreaker in San Francisco on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meet. The effort was to rebuild bridges and take forward the Bali process between the two powerful world leaders. However, China and the United States remain wary of each other. And while military-to-military communication is restarting, Joe Biden reiterated his comment about President Xi Jinping being a dictator, indicating there still is some time before there is a meeting of the minds. China, of course, called this statement irresponsible.
In the middle of a trade war and global power play, US President Joe Biden and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping held talks in San Francisco. The dialogue, described as constructive, is seen as a step towards thawing frosty relations between the two countries. President Biden and President Xi agreed to re-establish military communications, open US-China hotline, get experts to discuss risk of artificial intelligence, and stop proxy attacks on the US in the Middle East. The leaders reached an agreement to reopen military contacts that were cut after then House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. But in an off-the-cuff remark, President Biden, while leaving the press conference, took a jibe at Xi.
Mr. President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that we used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is the guy who runs a country that is a communist country that is based on a form of government totally different than ours.
China hits back, claiming US and China can only be adversaries or partners with no middle ground. China claims remarks were extremely wrong and an irresponsible political manipulation. This kind of statement is extremely incorrect and irresponsible political manipulation which China resolutely opposes. It needs to be pointed out that there are always some ill-intentioned individuals attempting to sow discord and damage in the US-China relations. Ties between the US and China have been strained since spy balloons were spotted in American skies this year. The two sides have also escalated a trade war, with China instituting new export curbs on critical minerals last month. Bureau Report, India Today.
We will continue to track developments on the story, but that is all I have for you on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.